Welcome to today's episode of The Breach Room, where we sit down with the sharpest minds in the cybersecurity industry. Today's episode is powered by Alterrain. At Alterrain, we help cybersecurity firms break free from the outdated lead generation methods such as networking events, conferences, and relying on word of mouth for referrals, which often feels like more of a wishful thinking than a real growth strategy. With our battle tested client acquisition system, you won't have to be chasing leads. There's no guesswork, and it's just predictable compound growth. So if you're a cybersecurity firm and you're looking to scale your business and see results within the first week, reach out via DM with the word growth. And now, without further ado, today we have a very special guest who is the CEO of Axios Security Group. So, Jereme, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about what you do and your story?
Okay, hey, thank you very much, Luis. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. This is obviously a really great platform, especially when it's dealing with cybersecurity. So this is an area that we cover in our business because we understand the importance of both physical and cyber. So this is great. I'm very honored and glad to be a part of this. So thank you. A little bit about me. I started as a military soldier in the 75th Regiment. I basically stayed there for some time. During that time, we learned a lot about the importance of both physical, not as much cyber, but physical security requirements and issues and things of that nature. And that really got me sort of in the mindset of understanding the importance of knowing your environment, knowing your area. And then as I became sort of got out of the military, I started working within the corporate confine. I started to really identify a lot of key issues that when I was working for other companies, I would see sort of these key issues dealing with a lot of the cyber side, the cybersecurity side. So it started garnering some interest. Then since I had the physical security background situation, then I started sort of learning and understanding more about the cyber. And it got really where I started to become more intrigued, and it was very intriguing to understand how how deeply complex cybersecurity is. It's so more nuanced than anything else. But anyway, so at that point, I started. I worked for various companies, various industries, and then at some point I decided to go ahead and start a investigative firm and physical security or cybersecurity, physical security company. And so we call ourselves Axios Security Group. And so we not only do we do both investigations, but we do physical security and cybersecurity components. These are all based off our military experiences. A lot of the team members, in fact, almost all my team members are specialized in these types, whatever industry they're in. So the physical security side, we have a lot of special operations guys, a lot of military guys or police officers. And then the cybersecurity side, we have a lot of members that are essentially former Air Force, Special Operations Command guys that have dealt with a lot of the informational databases through the Air Force. So we've been really got a great mix of people in this company because we are trying to use our skill set that we have acquired throughout the military career and our careers into a culmination of one company, which is Axios Security Group.
I love that, and especially because you're really covering all aspects. Like if you're dealing with high net worth individuals or like CEOs of multi-million dollar companies, well, it's not only the cybersecurity, but lives as well. What made you like decided to start your own company? Like, how was that journey for you?
Okay. So one of the things I tell you, working in as an entrepreneur, a lot of other business owners will tell you that this is it's a battle itself. It's a challenge. Being an entrepreneur, a lot of people are not really ready for it. It's learning, a constant upgrade. You're constantly always grooving and grinding. And I told somebody, they asked me, what's it like being a business owner? I said, well, it's definitely not a 9 to 5. It's more like a 5 to 9. So basically, you're not a 9 to 5er anymore. Those days have gone bye-bye. So the key element for a business owner is essentially you just one of the things that I wanted to do as a business owner is because I helped so many companies be successful and just done so well. And then I said, I wanted to take all the skill set and all the things that I have accumulated over the years. And I'm like, hey, I've done this for other people. Why not do it for myself? And so at that point, I decided, hey, look, I'm going to just start this, and with the little capital I had, which was crazy, and then I just started grinding it out and learning and watching YouTube. It was crazy. They teach you in business when you have your master's degree the sort of base understanding of business, but there's so much to the business world than just like numbers and profit loss statements and P&Ls and all that jazz. There's a lot more to it, and it's marketing and how to build people and train people and empower your team and these factors, and a lot of that's not really done in business school. It's again, it's a lot about profit and loss statements and building sort of businesses financially sort of from the ground up. But there's so many other nuances that you didn't really. Fortunately, I was blessed because I had that experience as an NCO in the Army, and then also helping working with other companies. So I took all that information and do that. So I didn't have to learn as much. Just really the marketing side was the key, really understanding how to market and working with people. And the other thing I encourage a lot of business owners, especially if they're like, just go in it with complete humility, because I can promise you, when you start your business, you know about a third as much as you, half as much, or a third as much as you think you know. Because once you get in there, it's like a whole new dynamic, and you're not under sort of the W-2 will be is what we call in the military. Will be is that soft blanket that we would wear. The W-2 will be the W-2 blanket anymore. You're on your own, and so everything you do is about survival. And some people don't make it, some people do, but those who do make it are the ones that are the most humble. I can promise you that.
Yeah, because we've been through the ringer. I can, yeah. And when you said marketing, like, what was it about your marketing that you needed to change, or how are you approaching it currently to scale your business?
Well, that's a great question. A lot of times marketing can be a challenge because the issue is that you don't know what works. Then you got to find out what niche you're really trying to focus on, your group, your focus groups, your focus of your client, your targeting.
Very smart.
It's and that's the thing, is just like, who's your target? Who's your target client? And you can't cast a broad net. Like, you can't go and just say, okay, I'm gonna take this fish net and just cast it across the lake, hoping I'm gonna catch somebody. You got to be, because that first off is gonna be very expensive, and two, it's got to be very targeted. So when you're learning about you're starting your business plan, a lot of people they fail to remember it's important to also create who's your clientele, who's your target group, who are the people that you're going to focus on. Because I can tell you that trying to cast that net across the lake, it's you're going to burn out most of your revenue, especially if you're doing like Google Ads or something to that effect, because you're just basically throwing it out and hoping something comes back, and it's not going to be the case. It has to be very strategic. And marketing is very multi-layered. You have to have social media posts, Instagram, YouTube channel. It's not just a one-time Facebook, TikTok thing. It's a very broad spectrum, because the SEO, and as you learn and you're watching YouTube and or whoever listening to me or however, when you start these things, you got to understand it's layered, and the algorithm catches that, and then that's how you become more on the sort of searchable scale when it comes to the SEO on Google or the other providers, search providers. Because if you don't scale it that way incrementally, and that's another thing, incrementally, it can't be done all at once. Forget about trying to do it all at once. You can't dump it all at once. It has to be like pebbles in a pond, and you're just throwing pebbles across the pond, and all the waves are sort of catching up, and they finally converge in a single point of the lake or the wherever you're throwing the pond. That's how marketing is. It's 100 pebbles just spread out and then just sort of targeted, and then allows it to kind of converge at some point in the middle of the pond.
Wow, that is such a great explanation. And when it comes to like finding your ICP or your ideal client profile, like who did you decide to serve in the industry and why?
So in the investigative security industry, there are actually two different dynamics, because, I started the investigations company first before I started the security company, which is people are like, well, you were in the Army, why didn't you do that? Well, the first off, the investigative side, the clientele are very similar to anything is that you're dealing is especially in investigation. So you're dealing with domestic, meaning people that have infidelity issues or family issues, and those are generally where you target that people that have that law offices, things of that nature. And then that's a little more simplified, because you're just thinking about when you're going through private investigations, you just go through the gambit of who needs these services, and then you identify them, and that's how you target your ads and target your marketing. In the security industry, it's separate, because first off, Investigations is very saturated, but the licensing requirements for investigations also make it challenging for a lot of people. So it is a bit of a niche, and so you don't have as much competition in investigations. But in security, there are some licensing requirements, but every Tom, Dick, and Harry basically started a security company after they got out of the army or the police force, and then so it's very saturated. So that is where it becomes where you are being very critical in targeting. This is very interesting on the security side because security, I had to be more targeted on security than I was investigations because the security side, not a lot of people need physical security. The other problem is a lot of people don't realize they do need physical security or even cybersecurity. So that's the unfortunate thing dealing with security industries.
Yeah, and I feel like it's very similar to cybersecurity as well. Like a lot of businesses end up looking for cybersecurity once
Yeah.
they've been breached.
That's a
As
very good
what it,
point. Excellent point. Yeah, it's just like the data breach for a great point, and that's like the data breach. I mean, data breach for what was it? United Health. As a veteran, United Health runs our entire platform. I think it's United Health, if I recall correctly. And they just got hammered by some kind of, I don't remember what kind of virus it was, but anyway, United Health, they really run almost all the medical files for all the military and everything else, or was it Union Health? I couldn't remember. But anyway, a lot of health companies tend to have cyber attacks, which is interesting because I know there was another one. It was Union Health. Pardon me. It was Union Health, and then they had a Ascension Health. I mean, we're just getting obliterated. All our data it's being held, and we got to buy it in ransomware. Is essentially what happened. The funny thing is that this was done generally by a low-level employee who had a crappy password, and they didn't have any kind of a biometric or multi-factor authentication or even a dual-factor authentication. Nothing. It was just essentially a bad login, and they were backdoor, especially I think it was Union Health or United Health or whatever. They were able to backdoor that into the entire system and ransomware the entire network. Isn't that the craziest thing?
yeah, which is really the reason why I wanted to start this podcast series because if this happens to the big guys that have crazy security budgets, like
Hmm.
a small, medium sized business that doesn't have any firewalls, doesn't have any training to their
Hmm.
employees, is actually the easiest target to get all the data. And like you said, if let's say an attorney gets breached and that data actually goes public or into the dark web, like you can get sued by your client and that can put you out of
Yeah.
business. So now that you've been in business for 7 years plus and you're the CEO, like what are you mainly in charge of? Are you still, like doing the actual work of the team or are you more at a higher level? Because I
Well,
know you multiple hats.
Well, you're funny. Yes, I have multiple hats. And when I started out, it was funny. A lot of people don't realize, but when you start out, you're like the cook, the cleaner, the dishwasher. Of course, as you grow, you start allowing these people that come over and you bring onto your team and you empower them and to allow them to grow into their roles and you guide them and then you sort of let them do that. But then you sort of the old Reagan mindset is trust but verify. So I'm really my day to day is just engaging some of our high value clients, two, engaging the team, checking to make sure everybody's doing their jobs, and then also three is just making sure that we're a viable company, both financially as well as marketing. I deal with our marketing people. I have constant, as I mentioned, you talked about marketing in the previous discussion. I had discussions with the marketing because I became very astute in understanding the importance of marketing, especially now because the old brick and mortar style, you know, that's a that has had to evolve, especially after COVID. All that's had to evolve. So that old brick and mortar style thing is really it's morphed into other facets, like more than just brick and mortar. Now it's on the internet and things of that nature, and you really cyber components. So all that marketing has to be focused solely on that versus the brick and mortar side. That's actually just crazily. It used to be almost all business was done in brick and mortar, maybe even 2 decades ago, decade ago. But now after COVID, it's almost the opposite. Almost all business is done via the internet, and that's why it's important. Is going back to your point, the cybersecurity components is so important because the protection of the information that you're being provided is so critical, and you got to have those things in place to make sure that when the client is sending you data, that data is absolutely completely protected and it cannot be hacked by any means.
Yeah, absolutely. Every business is a technology business nowadays.
Yeah,
Even if
exactly.
business, you still have a platform, you still have a CRM, and all of that information, whether you have credit cards, like needs to be protected.
That's right.
So when it the digital aspect for your marketing, have you been able to leverage some of the new technologies with AI for your marketing department?
So that's a great question. Yes, I have, it was actually 6 months ago, 6 months ago, 7 months ago. The Chat GPT craze went crazy. I think it was less than a year, but the whole Chat GPT, Open AI, in this industry, you have to grow. You have to, as I mentioned in a previous statement, you have to be humble. You have to understand you don't know everything. And those who do know everything or know those things that you're looking for, you have to be humble enough to ask the questions and listen and learn. And if you don't want it, that's fine, but at least you had the time and opportunity to listen and learn and maybe utilize some of what they're teaching you. And I took a course on AI in marketing and understanding marketing. I had some of my other team members do, and it's important to understand how AI is now an integral part. In fact, a lot of our cybersecurity side has sort of brought in a lot of AI implementation, especially when it comes to vulnerability testing and pen testing, because you got to remember, like, this is how we're able to keep the costs down, because when you're doing vulnerability testing and pen testing, it used to be where you had a dude just sitting there like the Matrix, looking at the coding, right? He's just watching
Yeah.
the green coding just come down the screen, and then all of a sudden you're trying to identify the coding within that framework. So you're basically like the Matrix. But now the AI can just like, in just the case of Doge, like it, don't like it, they implemented AI in a way to identify all of this crazy stuff in the government just vis-a-vis the AI platform that they utilize, and that AI just ate up all that data and just broke it all down so quickly, so vastly so. And that's kind of the reasons why I wanted to start implementing a little more AI in a controlled manner, because it's like a trust but verify even with AI. Like when you're doing AI, you just can't allow it to run all by itself and just never. It's not like the Terminator scenario where they just sort of run all your computers, all your everything, right? You don't want to do that. You don't want to end up like that. But the key is that have to have some kind of contact with. But it really is amazing. Like the courses I took and some of the training I learned, just watching that AI eat up all that data and just process it in a way that is just incredible. Like, oh my God. I mean, for me, I'm old school, so when I did my master's degree, and it's funny a lot of times I segue this, but when I was doing a master's degree, of course we didn't have AI, everything was written out, and we had to do all this. But I'm thinking, man, if I had AI back in the day, I could process so much of that data. And it's funny, a lot of kids are doing that. They're just processing data and they're doing everything so crazily. So I'm like, man, I wish I went to school now doing a master's degree. Would have taken less time. But either way, man, it's AI is really amazing. It's just, again, it has to be controlled. You sort of have to always be touching what it's churning out, and that's really, again, just like your team, like AI, everything has to trust but verify. Everything has to be touched. Everything has to sort of know what's coming in, what data it's sending out, and you being the final user per se, or final authority in identifying what it's given you. That's the most important thing. You can't just let it run by itself.
Yeah, no, I agree completely with you. AI is not to that point where like you can just let it run, but
Yeah.
like like trust but verify. Like make sure that your input is properly prompted, and then like that output is actually making sense. So it's more like the analysis of the output that is really valuable, and how to actually do something with that so that it can help your business.
Hmm.
And like I'm really curious, like what are some of the, I guess, tools or ways of doing marketing that you discovered while doing your course in AI marketing?
Well, in the AI marketing, some of the tools that they've utilized, of course, is how AI can essentially take like, you can essentially schedule out. So a lot of times you can sort of, it's like a sausage making machine. You threw a bunch of ingredients into it, right? You don't really know what's in the sausage, but you're throwing a bunch of ingredients into this thing, and then all of a sudden you sort of have like this idea, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, how do I get this idea to process into the sausage? How do I get this thing? So you're feeding all of this information, this, like, whimsical ideas that you have, and then the AI will generate sort of a marketing scope or marketing campaign or marketing understanding of what you're trying to do, and then it turns that all the crazy ingredients into a link of sauce. How do you implement? You have to be very meticulous in your thought. You can't be wild about the marketing. You can't be constantly going, okay, I'm gonna try this idea. I'm gonna try this idea. So using AI, it helps sort of take all these great ideas and then it helps break it all down into a plan or a strategic marketing plan, and then it allows you to sort of pick and choose whatever ideas. And it's crazy because you can allow it to expand and create digital commercials. Like I'm sure you've seen the what is that? What is it?
VO3?
Yeah, the Bigfoot commercials, the Bigfoot things they got on there now on the AI driven Facebook. This funny, they have like this Bigfoot things, and they have all these funny like baby generated movie stills now, movie reels, and they have like all this stuff that's all AI generated, and it looks completely human. It's so crazy because you think about it in 10 years time ago, that wasn't even plausible in a sense of just the mass ability to do so. 5 years ago, possibly for more high end, but now it's sort of generally open to the public where you could create these reels, these marketing reels yourself. You just got to have the understanding of what platforming you use and everything else, and then how to create those things. And then the AI actually generates a complete commercial. It's like you're creating a movie script. I kid you not. You're creating a movie script, and then literally it says, okay, I'm going to take your movie script. I'm going to create an adaptable, and it segments into time, seconds, what potential music you want, all this stuff. And then you just feed it into the machine, and then it just turns out this complete like amazing commercial or amazing reel, or and you could tell it like where I want it to go. Do I want it to go to LinkedIn? Do I want to go to Twitter? Do I want to go to Facebook? Do I want to do these things? Like it has all of these facets, and it's incredible, man.
What metrics would you say you're most focused on improving right now?
I enjoy doing a lot of investigative work, but as far as the metric side is growing our security and cybersecurity platforming, I think it's important that I really want to get the word out that, you know, there's a lot of big Goliath companies out there. I'm not speaking ill of them, okay, because they started out just like I did, but there's a lot of Goliath companies out there that offer services, and a lot of times those services, are basically passed down to us, and they're utilizing our company to do the work, which is fine. But the issue is that I would like for us to sort of grow into that sort of white glove sort of company that is able to garner up the larger medium-sized clients. I don't want to lose who we are though in the process. So to answer your question, the metric for us is to grow in a way that is strategic but not so large where we're so big that we forget who we are. Does that make sense? And the
Yeah,
metric for us is to grow in a way that, we are doing the great work that we normally do, but in a way that is basically controlled. And it's not just like, I've seen a lot of security companies that just are fire. They're just like blowing up, and then all of a sudden they fizzle out within like a year and a half. That's not how I don't think that's not long term for me. I want to be very growth. And I want to focus on the metric on our medium size to sort of large companies. I focus that small and pop, mom and pop, because as I talked about in the previous discussion, I really want to offer those services to them. I don't want them to feel left out. So I want them to understand that there is opportunity for them to have corporate style cybersecurity in a smaller white glove fashion, in a smaller sort of fashion that is allowed. I don't know how to say it, more sophisticated fashion that is not a sophisticated price, if that makes sense.
yeah, that makes total sense. Make it accessible for small, medium.
Yeah, make it accessible. That's correct. That's the key. You can't exactly. I don't feel like I want to grow so big that we have lost touch with everybody that really needs help. I think that's the key is for us. I really just all humility. I enjoy what we do, and I enjoy our platforming, and I enjoy the clients I deal with. But I want to grow to a point where we're able to handle all those, but we haven't forgot the people that really need the help too as well.
That's extraordinary. I'm sure that's gonna lead to, like you said, slow and steady growth without
Yes,
you
sir.
connecting
Yes,
complete.
sir. That's correct.
And like what's working really well for you right now and what has been a little bit frustrating?
I think what's working for us right now is the way we're doing our marketing, and we're enhanced. And as I talked about AI, we're utilizing the current technologies that are provided, and we try to look towards future technology to grow our brand in a way that is helps to make the longevity of the company, and to grow it in a way that will be around for 20, 30, 50 years or whatever. But the point is that what's working for us now is that we're bringing on those new technologies. We're understanding those things, and we're trying to learn, and we're marketing in a way that is focused. We've been always generally focused on a lot of, as I told you, strategic topics. We don't get political by any means. That's just the, I'll tell you now, if you're a business, getting political is like it's a dead zone,
You're
because
doing on yourself.
you're going to tick off 50% of your clients. You could be Republican, Democrat, I don't really care. The thing for us is that we don't do that. We care about everybody, and we focus a lot on security. Security for any person makes no difference. Democrat, Republican, I don't care what you are. You deserve to be protected just like everybody else, in cybersecurity as well. The other thing is we talk about veterans issues, and that's another focus, because everybody can get on board with that. So that tends to work with us. We stay within the gray, as I say, stay within the gray. We don't really get involved with any of that, right side, left side. We stay within the gray. Everybody deserves to have physical security. Everybody deserves to have cyber protection, no matter what political affiliation. I think that's what happens a lot of times, is the companies pick a side, and that just, as it goes to this American Eagle thing. Apparently, I didn't even know about it till like a month ago, and everybody's blowing up the social media. But when you choose that, when you start picking a side, that's a death sentence. So that's what's working for us, is that we care about our clients, and we want to make sure that they understand that we're here to serve them, and with all humility, and take care of them, and be good stewards to everything that they own, is another thing that we do.
So that's what's really working well for you, staying within the gray area. And what has been like a little bit frustrating?
I think the other thing is that, again, as I talked about in another just a few minutes ago, we're going back to competing against these larger companies. The a lot of times when you're in competition, it's kind of like they have a lot of money, in regards. I'm talking billions of dollars. I'm not saying I'm low
No,
level dude, but yeah, they have billions and billions of dollars, and when you're competing against a market cap like that, you got to be very, again, strategic on who your clients are. So at that point, when you're competing against such a large scale, it's like you can't be the David versus Goliath scenario. You got to be smart on this. You got to be very strategic. There are other people that need these types of things, as I talked about. So I think the frustrating thing, and the thing that we get frustrated the most, and essentially, I don't want to say frustrated, but the thing that it causes us
orange.
to really get sort of grind it out more, is we're trying to get our brand out there in a way that people will recognize as a brand like any other brand, like Nike or Reebok. I'm not gonna say we're being Nike or Reebok. I pray so. It'd be awesome. It'd be a blessing. I'll take the Nike Reebok branding. But the point is that they started out somewhere too. But I hope that our company comes in a branding way, where when they think of physical security, they think of cybersecurity, they think of investigations. They see this company Axios. This name actually means a lot. There's a lot of things to this name. A lot of people don't realize. If I may expound on that, if you don't mind, I don't want to kind of jump
No,
on the
no,
questions, but yeah,
love it.
sorry, I get excited about our name. So our name is it's actually a two-pronged name. The first, Axios, is a warrior name based off the Roman Greek scenarios, where they would award the wreaths of the Olympians or those championed out of Rome. They would put this wreath around the head, and they would say Axios, which means we are worthy. And in the Christian faith as well, it's Axios is a term used in a lot of the Byzantine, Catholic sort of Byzantine Christian. Axios is termed is, again, they say, the priests or whatever, they say we are worthy. So we're Christian, so we like to call ourselves Christian warriors. Essentially, it's who we are. That's our branding. So we're Christian warriors. We all served, so we're military. So it's kind of a play on words. So that's why we call ourselves Axios, because we're warriors who were Christians, and that's kind of our focus.
That's so powerful. I feel like that creates such a strong team culture whenever it's like commanding values and faith. Thank you so much, Jereme. You truly are an Axis warrior, and I cannot thank you enough for what you do, not only for your
Thank you.
clients, but for everyone around you.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you, brother, and thank you for reaching out. This has been wonderful, and I am so glad that I was able to coordinate with you. I'm glad we were able to finally do this, man. I really enjoyed this. This was a lot of fun.
Feelings are mutual. Thank you, Jereme.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it. Have a great day.